Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back. Before discussing the new material in today's lesson, let's review the quiz from last week. So the first part of the quiz, as always, is to transliterate words that are already written in Devanagari into Roman script. So the first word, if you did correctly, you should have gotten Vyasa. Vyasa, literally in Sanskrit, means the organizer of or the compiler of. And Vyasadeva receives that title aptly because he compiled the Vedic literatures into the four Vedas, as well as written the Mahabharata and many of the Puranas and Upanishads. The second word is Hladini. Hladini means the internal pleasure potency of the Lord. And if you notice on the first character, in case you may have had some trouble reading this word, you can see the first character has the letter Ha, hugging the letter La to get Hla. Then of course you had the long A to get Hla, to get Hladini. The third word is Pushpanjali. Pushpanjali is a contraction between two words, Pushpa and Anjali. Pushpa means flowers, and Anjali means homage or an offering. So Pushpanjali is a ceremony where devotees take flower petals and shower the deity as a sign of worship and respect. And the last word is Kapidvaja. Another contraction word, Kapi and Dvaja. Kapi means monkey. Specifically, the monkey that they're referring to is Hanuman. And Dvaja means flag. So Kapidvaja means the flag with a monkey, specifically the flag with Hanuman. This is the flag that was on Arjuna's chariot. And if you see pictures of Krishna and Arjuna during the Mahabharata war, you will see the flag on the chariot with Hanuman on it. So now we're going to write these words in Devanagari. If you did it correctly, it should look like this. I'm going to translate the words for you so you know what they mean. The first word, Shuklam. Shuklam means white or pure. The second word is Dvitiya. Dvitiya means second, as in first, second, third, second meaning second place. The third word is Padmavati. Padmavati is the name of Lord Nityananda's consort. And the fourth is Satchidananda. Satchidananda is actually a contraction of three words, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. The reason why it's not Sat, Chit, Ananda as opposed to Satchidananda is based on rules of Sandhi, which we won't get into in this course. But it's written as Satchidananda. And Satchidananda means truth, light, and happiness, or blissfulness. So now we're going to deal with the last portion of our study of consonant clusters, which are special exceptions. So if we're mixing consonants together to form consonant clusters, for the most part we've established a general rule. If your first letter has a vertical stick built into the letter, all you have to do is remove that vertical stick to form the half letter form of the first letter, and then you combine it with the second letter to form your cluster. On the other hand, if the first letter does not have a vertical stick, you need to review the examples that we did in lesson 16 so you can see how we take care of those. However, there are some letters that will form a completely different shape that does not resemble neither parent. Of course, there's also consonant clusters that involve the letter Ra. However, that we will deal with in lesson 18 because the rules for that is very different than what we've seen in the past. So now we're going to look at some examples of consonant clusters where the shape is so different that you can't tell what the original parent letters were. So we have Ka and Sha to get Ksha. We have J and Nya to get Nya. And Ta and Ra to get Tra. We'll also talk about special half-letter forms in this lesson as well. So the first letter we're going to discuss is the letter Ksha. It's a combination of the letter Ka and Sha. This letter is very unique to Sanskrit. In fact, if you see any Hindi word that has the letter Ksha in it, you can safely assume that this has a Sanskrit root to it. Any word that has the letter Ksha, in any North Indian language for that matter, implies that the origin of that word is from Sanskrit. Some teachers will actually teach this letter as an independent letter. So just like how we learn ga ka ga ga nga, ja cha ja ja nya, etc., they'll add ksha into the alphabet. I know in Hindi and Gujarati, they also add ksha as a part of the alphabet. Some Sanskrit texts will actually consider the ksha to be an independent letter, such that they'll say that the consonants range from ga to ksha. However, the traditional approach is that ksha is a combination, it's not an independent letter. As you can see from the shape above, ksha does not resemble neither ka nor sha. However, because it is a consonant cluster, it does follow all of the rules that we've learned regarding vowel markings, anuswaras, visargas, and consonant clusters. So as a reminder of where the sounds are produced from, we have ka, which is a guttural sound, combined with the retroflex sha sound to get ksha, ksha. Sometimes Sanskrit teachers will use the word action as an example of the ksha sound, but it's not the best example because action, the sha in action, is palate based, whereas the sha in ksha is retroflex. So to properly pronounce this letter as ksha, ksha. To write the letter ksha, we're going to draw a little loop that starts from the right, swing upwards, and loops back to the left. Then, once we complete our loop, we're going to swing outwards to the left and curve to the right to form the little loop shape that you see in the second figure. And then finally, we add a vertical line to the right with a small horizontal crossbar. Note that the loop of the letter ksha will break the horizontal crossbar. So this is one of the few letters that will actually break it, like ta and ba. This will also break the horizontal crossbar. The next unusual consonant cluster is the letter gnya. This is a combination of the letters ja and nya. This is so frequently seen in Sanskrit that it's very important to recognize this letter. If you see any word in North Indian languages that contain either ksha or gnya, that implies that this word comes from Sanskrit, direct Sanskrit root. You will not see any non-Sanskrit word that will contain either ksha or gnya. Just as with ksha, some Sanskrit teachers will actually teach gnya as an independent letter. I know in Hindi and some other North Indian languages, they'll actually add ksha and gnya as separate letters in their alphabet. In terms of the shape of the letter, you may see somewhat of a resemblance of ja, but you will not see any resemblance of nya, so that it takes a very different form from either letter. Just like with ksha, it follows all the rules of vowel markings, anuswaras, visargas, and consonant cluster formation. As far as proper pronunciation of this letter is concerned, the true pronunciation of this letter has been lost through time. And the reason why it's been lost through time is that this letter is difficult to pronounce, because you have to make the j sound with a nya simultaneously to get the proper sound. Most Sanskrit teachers will pronounce this letter as gnya. It's almost like a very light ga, but it's not produced by the throat. It's produced by the palate with a nya sound to get gnya, such as igneous, igneous. If you say igneous with just a very light touch of the palate rather than the throat, you'll get a sound that's equivalent to gnya. Some Sanskrit teachers will actually read this as jna. So when you see the words like jnana, they'll read it as jnana, jna. In Hindi and Bengali, this letter is pronounced as gya. So words like jnana or yagya. Marathi has the sound that's closest to Sanskrit, which is pronounced as dnya, dnya. So yagnya or jnana. And in Gujarati, it's pronounced like a hard G sound with a na. So it's pronounced as gna. So yagna or gnana. So the proper pronunciation is the palate kind of swiping outwards with a slight nasal aftertone to get gnya, gnya, gnya. To write this letter, you're going to make a horizontal line to the left and you're going to curve out and swing out to the left as shown in the first part of the picture. Then on the arm that's hanging out from the left part of this character, you're going to loop downwards to the right. And then you're going to connect that with a horizontal crossbar with a vertical crossbar to the right to get the shape of gnya. Gnya. And the last consonant cluster that has a very unusual shape is the letter tra. It's a combination of ta and ra. Many languages don't use tra as an independent letter, although I know in Hindi and Nepali they do have the letter tra as an independent letter. Tra does not resemble neither ta nor ra, but it does follow all the rules that we have for vowel markings, anusvaras, visargas, and consonant cluster formation. So write the letter tra, we draw a backward shaped K, and then we take the top of the vertical line of the K shape and mark that with a horizontal crossbar to get this shape of tra. Tra. Now be very careful because the letter tra looks very similar to the letter r. The big difference between tra and r is that tra does not have the hook shape to the right, whereas the letter r has a hook shape to the right of the vertical line. Now we're going to talk about special clusters. These special clusters do resemble their letter, or they may take a slightly different shape when forming the half letter. So when you're having two gas together, ka and ka, you stack them upon each other to get this shape. Ka. Two kas together. To get ka and ta, to get kta, you can actually do one of two ways. You can do it the way that we did in the last lesson where we took the half letter form of ka and combined it with ta to get kta. This is perfectly acceptable, but you can also write this in this shape as well to get kta. Kta. This is the consonant cluster of the letter ka and ra to get kra. The letter looks a bit unusual, and to understand why it looks like that, we will need to discuss things in lesson 18. But there's an alternative form of writing the letter kra. The next cluster is the two tas combined together. To draw this special character, it's nothing more than writing the letter ta, but with an extra horizontal line sticking from the center to get ta. This is the same ta that's used in words like chitta or vrittihi. When you combine two nas together, you can certainly use the same approach that we did before, where we draw the half letter na, followed by a full letter na to get na. But also you can use this special character, where you have the two arms of the na coming from the same single point to get na, na, such as Jagannatha. Be very careful not to confuse this with tra. You can see at the arms of tra, you don't have loops at the end of the arms. Whereas with na, you can clearly see two loops at the end of the arms. Next is dia. To write dia, you'll see that it uses a special character to the right, but you can kind of see the da and you can kind of see the ya fused together to form this shape of dia. This is used in words like vidya, which means knowledge. But be very careful not to confuse this with the letter ga. Notice that the ga, the top part of the shape of ga is fused to the horizontal crossbar, whereas with dia, it's hanging with a small vertical bar to the shape of dia to get its unique figure. So ga has the top fused to the horizontal crossbar, whereas dia has a small vertical line that connects to the shape of dia. The next consonant cluster we're going to talk about are consonant clusters with the letter sha combined with cha, na, ra, and va. When you have consonant clusters with these letters, the half form of sha takes on a very different form. So when we try to get rid of the vertical line for these letters, we actually end up with this form here. It looks like a little loop. So for instance, if you're trying to write sha combined with cha to get sha, what we do is we draw that loop figure that represents the half letter form of sha, and we squeeze in the letter cha beneath it to get sha. To combine sha with na to get shna, what you do is you draw the loop figure, and on the point where the loop figure connects with the vertical bar, you write a diagonal line downwards showing the arm of the na to get shna. Please bear in mind this is shna and not shna. Shna, the retroflex sha with the retroflex na, is the shna that's using Krishna. Whereas this one, the palate sha and dental na, shna, is a softer sound, and it's used in words like prashna, which means question. For combining sha and ra to get shra, what you do is you take the half letter form of sha as the loop, you combine it to a vertical bar, and you draw a diagonal line going from the middle point of the vertical bar down to the left. And that is how you write the letter shra. Of course, don't forget the horizontal crossbar. And this is one of the letters that will break the horizontal crossbar. I forgot to mention this in the last two slides with sha and shna. The sha letter will break the horizontal crossbar when you have this looped form. And lastly, sha and va to get shva, you draw the half letter form as a loop sha with va kind of swinging right beneath it to get shva. So we talked about consonant clusters, but do vowels form clusters? And the answer to that question is no. Vowels never form vowel clusters. Each vowel acts as its own syllable. So if you recall from lesson 13, we did the example of nitai. A and E are different syllables. They're not clusters. You can't expect to combine vowel markings on vowels to get vowel sounds like that. It is distinct syllables. But there is one major exception to this rule as far as vowel clusters are concerned. There's only one vowel cluster that exists, and it's not unique to Sanskrit. It's known to the entire world. It is known for its divine glories and divine attributes. It is the combination of a, u, and ma to get om. After discussing the most divine letter in the Devanagari alphabet, let's do some practice exercises. First, let's write the word kshatriya. So as always, the first step is to break each syllable down. So if you listen carefully, you see that there are three syllables: ksha, tri, and ya. Same approach as before. We transliterate each syllable, transcribe them into the appropriate Devanagari characters. So the first syllable is the letter ksha. It is a very unique consonant cluster that we learned in this lesson. So we write the letter ksha down. There are no vowel markings or anything special happening to ksha, so we just leave it as is. The next letter, or I should say the next syllable, is the letter tri. So this uses the consonant cluster tra, which uses a special shape that we discussed in this lesson. But the letter tra has the short e fused to it, so we need to write the short e sound to this letter to get tri. And then finally, the last syllable is the syllable ya. There are no vowel markings added to it, so therefore you just write the letter ya as is. No anusvaras or visargas in this word. So this is how you write the word kshatriya. Kshatriya is the administrative or warrior class. Let's write this word Jnana Yoga. So if you listen carefully, you'll see that there are 4 syllables. You have nya, na, yo, and ga. 4 syllables. Then we transcribe each syllable. So the first syllable is nya. The consonant here is a cluster of ja and nya to get nya, and this is a special character that we discussed earlier in this lesson, which looks like this. It has a long ah sound to it, so it's pronounced as nya. So we draw the extra vertical bar to the right to get nya. Then the next character is na. There are no vowels associated with it, so we just write na as is. The next syllable is yo. This uses the consonant ya, so you write ya down. And then we add the o symbol to it to get yo. And finally, the last syllable is ga. There is no vowels associated with it, so we just write it as is. No anusvaras or visargas here. So to write the word jnana yoga correctly, it's written as this: jnana yoga. Jnana means knowledge, and yoga means the link. So this is a yoga or a link based on knowledge, analytical knowledge. Let's do another practice example. We're going to write the word uttama shloka. So first step, break each syllable down. This may be a bit tricky, so you have to be very careful on how you break this down. But if you do it correctly, you'll recognize that there are 5 syllables. U, ta, ma, shlo, and ka. So the next step is we're going to transcribe each syllable into Devanagari. So the first syllable is U, the short U sound we learned back in lesson 1. So you just write the letter U down. The second syllable is a combination of 2 tas together to get ta. This is a special character that we learned in this lesson, which looks like the letter ta with the extra horizontal line sticking outwards to get ta. Then the next syllable is ma. There are no vowels added to it, so it's just ma written as is. The fourth syllable is shla. Now, the first letter of this cluster is the palate sha sound. However, this is not added to cha, na, ra, or va. This is added to la. So we don't need that special loop form that we learned in this lesson. We can just write the half letter form of sha as such. Then we combine it with the letter la to get the consonant cluster shla. But it has a vowel associated. It has the vowel o. So we need to draw the appropriate diacritic marking that corresponds to o, which is the vertical line with the line segment coming to the top. So we have shlo. And then finally, ka. No vowels, no modifications, so it's written as is. No anusvaras or visargas here. So to write uttama shloka is presented in front of you as such. Uttama shloka. Uttama shloka is another name of Lord Vishnu. Now we're going to do some reading examples. We're going to read this word that's presented to us. So the first step, as always, is to break them down by character. And if you look at this properly, you'll see that there are 4 distinct letter characters. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're going to transcribe each of these letters into Roman script. So the first character that we see is the letter va, but it has a short e sound to the left of the letter, so that means that it's going to be pronounced as v. The second character, if you look at it carefully, you'll see that the first portion of the letter has that little loop shape that breaks the horizontal crossbar. So that means that this is the half letter form of sha when combined with ja, na, ra, and va. If you look at the bottom of the letter, you can definitely see that this resembles a va. So we can say that this letter is shva. Shva. No vowels or modifications besides the cluster, so we can leave it as is. The next character you see is another consonant cluster, and it is indeed a consonant cluster because you can see half of the letter ma that starts that cluster. And then to complete that cluster, you see the letter bha. So we write bha to get mbha. And then finally, the last letter is ra, nothing done to it. There are no anusvaras or visargas here in this word. So we read this word as Vishvambhara. Vishvambhara. Vishvambhara means the one that can bear the entire creation and the entire planets. And that's another name for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Vishvambhara. Let's read another word. So again, first step is to break them down by character. And if you look at this carefully, you'll see that there are 4 characters. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to transliterate each of these characters separately. So the first one you can see is the letter na, but to the left of na we have the short e sound, so we have ni. Then the next character, you'll recognize that as a consonant cluster. You see that the arm of the ta is there, so that means it's half of a ta. So we write just the t to indicate that's a half letter. And then the cluster is completed by the letter ya to get dia. There's no vowels or anything that we need to do with it, so we just leave it as is. So we go to the next letter, which is the letter ya, but it has a short u sound to it, so we write the letter u next to it to get u. And then last letter is the letter kta. Remember, this is a special form of kta that we learned in this lesson. Alternatively, this could have been written with the half form of ka with the full form of ta together, but you also may see books write it like this. No anuswaras visargas once again. So to read this word correctly, it is nitya yukta. Nitya yukta is used multiple times in the Bhagavad Gita, and this means always engaging in. Let's read another word. So again, first step is break them down by characters. So if you read this correctly, you will see that there's also 4 characters. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to transliterate each character separately. So the first character that you see is the letter ya with the short u symbol right beneath the letter to get u. Then the second character is the letter dha, but to the left of the dha you see the shape of the short e sound. So you write the letter I to represent E to get D. The next character that you see is a half letter form of sha. And right beneath the sha, you see the letter ta. You see the little circle that represents ta. So when you combine this together, you get shta. But to the left of this character, shta, you see the short E symbol once again. So we have the syllable shti. And the last letter is ra. Nothing added to it, no vowel markings, so it's written as ra. No anuswaras or visargas once again. So this word is read as Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the eldest of the Pandavas. With all the material that we have learned up to this point, we are very close to being able to read anything and write anything in Sanskrit. We just got one more lesson to go before we can achieve that goal. But before we do that, let's take a quick break and do a quiz. Let's make sure that you understand how to do the consonant clusters as well as everything that we've done up to this point. So please take this quiz, and next week we'll have the answers posted at the beginning of lesson 18. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below or contact me via kksongs.org. Till next week when we meet again, Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.